And because I was a chunky kid, okay, already at that
You were a
point,
chunky kid. You do okay now.
but then, so they made me catcher. And I played catcher for a number of years in
That's a
Little League.
tough position.
I know.
Very tough. The toughest position.
You got to get used to the equipment, wearing the equipment, number one.
Right.
And number two,
You had to learn how to catch the ball.
I could catch the ball. I could catch the ball. Today, I only wish I could get down in that same position.
Well, you could probably get down. It's to get back up that's the problem.
That's what I had to practice, seriously. After the meniscus surgery, that was one of the exercises I had to practice squats. Yeah. You think it's not one of those?
Yours,
Okay.
that's called sukkah.
Right?
Okay,
It could be, okay, it could still be in the base medrash. It did. Okay.
Oh, we need volume 2 tomorrow, right?
I think so.
Tomorrow.
Right? Yeah.
I believe it's tomorrow.
I think so.
So what's going to be the Wednesday? You're going to have the shir immediately after what they will call davening?
Maybe after the Yom HaAtzmaut observance. Actually, the observance is in the afternoon. The davening is in the morning.
So then why are they observing at the daven? Why can't they?
Because they're doing a
We never did.
Yom
Before
HaAtzmaut
Yahshua came, we never
appropriate.
did it.
Kennedy, what are they doing at the davening?
I'm not in charge of the davening.
Hallel with a bracha.
I'm not in charge of the
And they
davening.
mess up the zman of davening,
I'm not.
which is also not supposed to happen. Why couldn't they daven at 7:30?
Why? As opposed to 7:45?
Yeah, that's a shinoi. You're not supposed to do that. But whatever they do here, you're not supposed to do.
Because they're combining all the minyanim as one.
So why couldn't they pick one of the minyanim?
I don't know. I'm not in charge. What?
We have Daf Yomi on Wednesday.
Yes, we will have Daf Yomi on Wednesday. Okay, no.
Because they're probably bringing in a famous chazan
No. I
to
don't think so.
daven.
All right, guys, come on. All right, let's go. Learning sponsors. A year of learning, Isaac and Evelyn Blachor in memory of his sister, Chaya Rachel Bas Isser. Friends of Leonie Meiselman, Leah Sabra Bas Chanuk Zunder. Friends of Melaskotsky, Moshe Zelig, Ben Mordechai. Martin Lippman and family in memory of his wife, Marka Chana Bas Pinchas. Friends of Herb Jeremiah Tzvi Ben Zev. Friends of Sam Coleman, Shmuel Ben Yaakov. Friends of Gideon Lazinski, Mordechai Shlomo Ben Meir. A month of learning by the friends of and students of Rabbi Shalom Kornblum, Harav Shalom Ben Mordechai. Aaron and Mel Haller in memory of her father, Yosef Eliezer Ben Tzvi Hirsch. Mark Scher in memory of his father, Mordechai Ben Menachem Rami. Mark Linder in memory of his nephew, Eretz Paul Ben Srilis. Susan and Ron Podolsky in memory of her father, Simcha Bunam Ben Yeshua. Michael and Judith Poretsky in memory of his mother, Rachel Bas Avram. Susan and Ron Podolsky in memory of her mother, Chaya Bas Avram Dov. B. Pizer in memory of her father, Yitzchak Dov Ben Shmuel. A week of learning by Judy Iger in memory of her husband, Aaron Ben Shlomo Michael. Judy Iger in memory of her son, Anshel Yitzchak Ben Aaron. Jack Gilman in memory of his brother, Zev Yosef Ben Yitzchak. Sharon Glass in memory of her mother, Chaya Bas Abraham Baruch. Today is the 24th, right? That we have no individual days of learning today. Okay. Right. Okay. Okay. Okay, we went a little bit over to the top of Kaf Vav Amud Aleph, which is today's daf, right? But just run back real quick to the bottom
You don't really need to.
Okay, well, I want to, for my sake, it gives me a sense of flow. Okay? No. So what happens is we saw the various pieces in the Gemara, okay, discussing this, or saw Rav and Shmuel argument, trying to compare it, things like that, right? So what happened? Okay, so basically, we came back to another piece in the Gemara, right? Okay, and there was at Mesive, exactly the challenge, Mekanela Arusola Shomrat Yabam Shalo. Okay, Art Scroll points out in a note there, by the way, the difference in the language between that phrase, which are Braita, and our original Mishnah. Okay, but beyond that, Im Ad Shalo Kansa Nistara, up till the time that she was actually married, brought under the chuppah, and that's when she's secluded. Lo shota velo notelet ketubata. She does not drink, and she does not receive her ksuba. Okay, and then we continue on the top of Kafvav, where we left off yesterday. Mu'beret chavero, one who marries a pregnant woman from his neighbor, so to speak. Uminiket chavero, or a woman nursing who was married previously to his neighbor. Lo shotot velo notlot ketuba. They do not drink, nor, in other words, they're not subject to the sota examination, and they do not receive their ksuba. Divrei Rabbi Meir. And that's where we left off yesterday. We're going to pick up now with Rabbi Meir's view versus Chachamim. And as we continue with the Gemara, going to see a number of issues coming up. I will point.
Easier if there are issues.
What? I will point out a couple of items, or I will make reference to them and look for some additional pshat. Okay. So what happens? Okay. Shahaya Rabbi Meir Omer. That Rabbi Meir used to say as follows: Lo yisa adam me'uberet chavero umeneket chavero. According to Rabbi Meir, a person should not marry, okay, the pregnant woman or the nursing woman. Okay, and this is beyond, this is in general, he says. Okay, ve'im nasa yotzi. And if he marries her, he must divorce her. V'lo yachzir olamit. And he cannot ever take her back. Okay, the sages disagree. Okay, v'chachamim omrim, they say, what? Yotzi, he must divorce her. Ukasheyagias mano lichnos, and when comes the time to have her come under the chuppah, in other words, 24 months. Okay, 24 months, 2 years later, ideally when the child is weaned, right? Okay, what happens? Yichnos, he may marry her. Okay, so there's the machloket between them. However, the Gemara continues. Okay. What about other situations? The Gemara clarifies. Bahar Roveh. I have a translation of Roveh, young man. Okay, right? What happens? Shenasa akara uzakina. That he marries either a barren woman or an elderly woman. In both cases, women unable to procreate and produce a child, it would appear. And remember, a young man, has the requirement to produce progeny. Okay, so what happens? Ve'en lo isha ubanim me'ikara. And he does not have a wife or children originally. Okay, what's the status then? Lo shota v'lo notelet ketuba. If this woman, akara zakina, is unfaithful, okay, what happens? She does not drink, nor does she receive a ketubah for the divorce. Rabbi Elazar Omer, he says as follows, disagrees with that statement, okay? And he puts in his view, Yachol hu lisei acheret. It's possible for him to marry another woman, v'lifrot v'lirabot himena, and to have progeny with her, which would then allow him to maintain,
Makes the first
okay,
marriage legitimate.
maintain that other woman as his wife, okay, which would also imply then that she would not have to drink. Okay,
Then she would.
okay.
Then she would.
All right, I'm sorry. She would have to drink because if it's a valid
No
marriage,
drama in the
it's a
first
valid marriage and she is unfaithful, she would have to drink. Okay. Aval, amikaneh la'arusato v'shomeret yavam, but according to this Braita, if he warns his arusa, okay, or his daughter, his sister-in-law, okay, umisha kansa nistara, and after the time he married her, okay, I was bothered by the translation in Art Scroll here, okay, all right. They translated it as during the wedding. All right, you look at Art Scroll's translation. Okay, Umisha Kansa, I think it's this point, Nistara. All right, what happens? O Shota, O Lo Notelet Ketuba. All right, okay, after.
It says, and when he married her, she secluded herself. What's wrong with that? That's an accurate translation.
Look at the note. Is there a
She
note
was
there?
warned before the marriage and secluded herself during the marriage. It doesn't mean
During the
during the
marriage
marriage,
doesn't
next-
mean during the
the ceremony.
chuppah.
Yeah.
Okay,
It means
So that's
2
the-
weeks after they got married.
so
she's fooling around
that's
with
why
him.
I'm saying I was bothered by the note,
Yeah.
and I think that's,
You
you're
miss-
correct. You're correct in how you're explaining
Yeah, I
it.
think you're
But
right.
I
I
think-
mean, you
You're
gotta be
right.
able to read English.
I bet it's
No,
just-
it's a question of inappropriate language in the note. Okay,
Okay.
all right. He warned her before the marriage,
And then
And
she
then
fools around
during
during,
the-
the marriage.
and
when-
then after the marriage.
Problem with the word
No.
after the marriage, you might interpret that to mean he divorced her already.
No, not
Well, what is it?
necessarily.
I have a wife. My
And
current status is
Wait a
during
minute,
the
wait a
marriage.
The
Even though
current
it's
status
57
is
years. but
married.
it's
How
still-
has she prepped you so long? I don't know.
I don't
It
think-
says
Okay.
Nishum or
So
evil.
and my point is simply that it had to occur at some point after she
Yeah.
was in the chuppah.
Correct. And
Right.
while she was still married to him.
Yes,
That's
but
what during.
okay, but you understand why I had a
I hear you.
oh shota olo no telet ketuba.
No,
She-
she gets to drink.
So either she drinks or she does not receive the ksuba. Okay, now going on. Me'uberet umineket atzmo. If the woman who's pregnant, okay, or nursing is his own wife, okay, and she's the one who secludes herself. O shota olo no telet ketubata.
And this
Either
price-
she drinks, or again, in this case, she does not receive a ksuba.
And this price disagrees.
Okay, we're going to get to that in a second. Okay, you're right, but before we get to that, the implication here is that she's still drinking even though she's pregnant, and certainly may have an impact on the embryo.
Yeah, she does.
Okay, and right. So I wanted to just, okay, bring that up again because it was not,
But
again,
this time
clear.
it's his
Okay,
baby.
correct. Okay, so what's the situation here? Okay, in other words, again, she must drink or she does not, or he divorces her and she receives no ksuba. Note again, if she drinks, it is certainly, and she's to be considered going to be guilty, then the test of the examination is she's guilty and it will affect her and the progeny. Okay, so what happens? Okay, in this case, let's go on. Harova shenisa akara uzkena. Okay, regarding again the young man. Okay, and so we have a problem with the language here and the situation. Okay, right? So here, right? So what happens? Harova shenisa akara uzkena. So again, the young man who marries a barren or an elderly woman. V'yesh lo isha uvanim. But this young man already has another wife and children.
More kids.
Okay, right? Oh, shota. Well, that depends on your situation.
It doesn't matter. As long as he has children, he doesn't need a wife.
Right. but it says shota here uvani.
And that means or.
In this case, I saw it as in. Okay. O shota olono telet ketuba. Either she drinks or she does not receive a ksuba. Okay. So that is the situation. Okay. And again, in that case, according to the end of the bright. Okay, we get to a new example. Eishet mamzer the mamzer. Okay, we said that other cases that defined in the Mishnah were prohibited marriages. This is already a permitted marriage. Okay, Eishet mamzer the mamzer. Okay, the wife of a mamzer who's married to a mamzer. The Eishet natin le natin, and the wife of Artscroll wanted to translate it Gibeonite. Okay, they're based on the original concept. Okay, to Gibeonite. Ve'eshet ger, the wife of a convert. Ve'evid mishruchra. Okay, and the question. Okay, and the wife of a freed servant. The status of the freed servant is like a
He's a
ger.
ger.
Okay.
Not like, he is a ger.
Okay. Va'ilonit, and regarding the woman who hasn't reached any signs of physical puberty, maturity, etc. O shota, either they drink, or lono telet ketuba, or she does not receive her ketuba.
Because they're not love
Okay,
marriages.
all right. They're not what?
They're not love.
They're not prohibited. Right, we said the other examples were prohibited marriages. These are permitted marriages. That's the point we said earlier. Okay. Now what happens? So our Gemara continues. Katani miha ilani. Here we see that it nevertheless it teaches in regarding the ilani. What is that then? Okay, based on this statement, to Yuvte de Rav Nachman. This is a proof text against the view of Rav Nachman. Amar lach Rav Nachman. And Rav Nachman would say to you, Tana'ahi, that this actually is a machloket Tanaim. Va'ana da'amreki haita. And I say, similar to what was said by another Tana, Tanya, as taught elsewhere in a Braita, Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar Omer, he says as follows, Ilonit lo shota velo no telet, right? Ksuba. The Ilonit does not drink, nor does she, okay, and she does not receive a ksuba. Shana Amar, why? And we saw this pasuk, part of the pasuk cited earlier, right? V'nakta v'nizra'a zara, okay, that she has a flow, okay, in other words, able to produce seed, okay?
That she will be declared innocent and then have a baby. That's how you have to interpret it. So the islanders cannot have a baby.
Well, she can't
so
produce
she can't
seed.
drink.
She can't produce seed. She can't have children. That's what the direct translation. Misha darka lahazriya, one who has the possibility to produce seed, in other words, to have progeny. Yatztazo she'en darka lahazriya. Therefore, it excludes one,
The island.
okay, who is not able to produce seed, not able to produce progeny. That's the Ilani. The Rabbanan, whereas the rabbis, what's their view? How do they understand this particular part of the pasuk? Hi, v'nakta v'nizra'a zara. What about this section?
Right.
My avdele, what do they do with it? Mibaye lahu l'kedetanya. They need it for the way it's taught in a Braita, namely v'nakta v'nizra'a zara, she'im hayta akara, that if a woman is barren, okay, nifkedet, she would be remembered, okay? In other words, Hashem will remember her,
And she'll have
based,
a baby.
right? And she will ultimately be able to produce progeny, okay? Divrei Rabbi Akiva, that's the word of view of Rabbi Akiva. I believe, I don't remember the exact pasuk, okay? Hashem pakadet Sarah, okay? It's based on that reference,
There's also by Rivka.
okay?
Is an island subject to death penalty for adultery?
Yeah. Yeah, why not?
Does she have to do so?
So what?
Doesn't make a
It's not that.
Okay.
right?
It's not the children, it's the behavior.
Yeah, or they, right, that's the pasuk, right? Yeah, okay. So that's what I assume Rabbi Akiva is basing his drasha on, okay? Amar lo Rabbi Yishmael, and Rabbi Yishmael challenges this explanation, this drush of Rabbi Akiva. Im Kain, he says, if that's the case, what will happen? Yistaru kol ha'akarot, then all barren women will go ahead and they'll pretend an argument issue with their husband, and the husband will warn them. Then they're going to go seclude themselves.
But not do anything.
Okay, but exactly, I'll get to that. Okay, and not they'll seclude themselves with a man, but not commit any sexual act, and therefore that would imply that Hashem will remember them and they'll be able to give birth. That's his argument. That's Rabbi. Okay, Rabbi Yishmael, right?
Or whatever it's called.
Vayif Kedu, okay, and they will be remembered. Vizo ho'il velo nistara ifsida. And this woman, because she acted in a very tzniistic manner, okay, she's not going to be remembered. She won't benefit. She'll lose out. Okay, im kain, if that's the case,
Meaning a woman who won't use that
won't
subterfuge.
you, right, won't try that approach. Okay, im kain, if that's the case, ma Talmud lomar, what then are you trying to come to tell us, to teach us? V'nektav v'nizra'ah zera, when we say this part of the pasuk, what does it imply, right? She'im hayta yoledet b'tzar, that if a woman previously had given birth with pain, yoledet b'reva, that now she will be able to give birth much smoother, easily, things like that. Furthermore, nekevot, if she was giving birth only to females, yoledet zikarim, now she'll be able to give birth to males. Okay, tsarim, if she was giving birth to children that were short, okay, yoledet arukim, she'll be able to give birth to basketball players in potential. Okay, what happens? Shchorot, if she was giving birth to swarthy children, that's what.
Dark skin.
Yeah, we know that, but we want to be
It doesn't
racially
mean.
clear. All right, yoledet levanim, she would give birth to children who are more lighter skinned. Okay, okay, that ends that discussion. All right, Eshit mamzer lemamzer. We come back to that reference, which we said was not a prohibited marriage. It's a permitted marriage. So what happens in that situation? Okay, do you, Pshita asks the Gemara, it's obvious. Why do you even have to mention? Mahu detema, what is it that you want to tell us? Afushe psulim lo lifosh. Maybe we don't want to increase, okay, that segment of the population. Okay, right? Kamash Malan comes to teach us.
Very nice translation.
Okay.
Politically.
Okay, comes to teach us. Okay, that's not the case. Right? Eshad ger ve'eved mishuchra. Okay, va'ailanit. What about these other examples? Okay, pshita again. Isn't that obvious? Okay, why do you have to refer to it? Why does it have to be mentioned? Mahu detema. What are you trying to tell us? Daber el bnei Yisrael. The pasuk specifically says, "Speak to the bnei Yisrael, v'lo geri," and not converts. Kamash malan comes to teach us that it applies to them as well. Ve'ema, and I might say hachinami here too. Va'amad ribuyahu. Okay, that it comes to again include.
That later in the pasuk, there's
It's
the
going to
word
include them.
Marta.
Right? It's going to include them as well.
I don't know about this whole business with the Gale. I mean, the Gale also I mean, it's a pasuk right out of the Torah. Why
Right.
banging
Why?
it together?
Because there are times when we translate Bnei Yisrael only for the males, and there are times that we translate it elsewhere as all.
And it could be interpreted to
Either
mean
way.
native born.
Okay, either way. Eshet Kohen, right? Now we get to a new piece. Eshet Kohen, the wife, Shota v'chuli. Okay, that the wife of the Kohen, all right, what drinks. Now, what happens? Pshita, again, isn't she like, we could argue in a number of these cases, isn't she like any other woman, any other wife, who if she commits an act of unfaithfulness would be expected if she wants to declare her innocence to go through the sota process. Right? We've got to keep that thought in mind. And that's why the Gemara keeps asking this question. Okay, if we've made a general principle, why, okay, are there that many exceptions? Okay, pshit, it's obvious, mahu detema, okay, but why? Because we have a part of a pasuk that says, vehi lo nitpasa, okay, that she wasn't forced to go astray, okay? Asura, she would be prohibited. Ha nitpasa, which would imply that if she was forced to commit an act in adultery, muteret, that she ought to be permitted to her husband. Okay, right. But the question is, Ashes Cohen is a unique situation. Vizo, right? Ho'il v'nit pasa. But in this case of the Ashes Cohen, since even when, I'm going to put in, even when she was forced into an act of unfaithfulness, asura, she is nevertheless forbidden to her husband. Okay, okay, ema lo tisteh. Okay, so I might say, therefore, we should not read it, okay, and understand it as when she's not forced. Kamash malan comes to teach us that's the case. Umuteret leba'al, and when we say she's permitted to her husband, pshita, again, isn't that obvious?
She survives.
Okay, the implication being she's gone through the test. The waters have shown that she's not guilty of unfaithfulness. Therefore, she is permitted to her husband. And we believe that therefore she will ultimately have valid progeny, hopefully from him. Okay. Amar Rav Huna, says Rav Huna, bamit navna. It's when she withers away. Mit navna. You say she withers away? Huh? But kuha maya. But the waters have given her the examination.
And she's
passed.
No, she's failed.
Okay, if she's
withering,
passed,
she's
okay,
failed.
that's the point. If she's passed, she should be all right. If she's failing health-wise, if she's withering, okay, what doesn't that show that she's guilty? And therefore ultimately ought to be forbidden to that. Right. So the Gemara now tries to deal with that issue. But mitnavna derech evarim.
Abnormal withering.
Okay, we're saying that it's the withering of her limbs. What do we mean by withering of her limbs? Ma'udetema. Ha, zenuye zenai. If she's committed an act of znut, okay, vahalo vaha delo bad kuhamaya. Okay, but didn't we say that the waters would clarify her status? Give her this examination. Okay, so what happens? Ki orche mishum de ba'onesenai. Where there, it may be a situation that would, because she was forcefully forced into a situation of unfaithfulness, of adultery. Ulagabe kahen asira. And in regards to the kohen, she's prohibited. Kamash malan. That's what it comes to teach us. Now, Eshet Saris Shota, the wife of a eunuch, is expected to drink. Pshita, again, we need to tell us that. Isn't it obvious? Isn't she like any other wife again? Mahu detema, what are you trying to tell us? Why? Because we have another part of a pasuk. Mibalade ishech, besides or along with the husband. Amar Rahman. What do you mean then? Vahai. Love bar hachihu, but how can you say that? How can you say that that's the situation? Because if he's a saris, he can't have any intercourse with her. Okay, Kamash Malan comes to reason that that's why it's done. Al Yedei,
she's still
okay, right. Al Yedei ko arayot, okay, maknin. We say in regards to other examples of men that are listed as arayot, forbidden in the Torah of incestual,
She can still
right,
give him
situations, warnings are given. Pshita. Again, isn't that obvious as we go to the next Amud? Mahu detema. What then are you trying to tell us? Okay, we have an example here. Nitma'ah, nitma'ah. Okay,
money.
all right, we have two terms that it said twice that she became impure. Shnei pa'amim, two different times. Echad leba'al ve'echad lebo'el. Maybe we'll darshan that to say one applies to the husband and one applies to the paramour. Heiche deka mitzra v'haznut. Here it's a situation where she secluded herself and an act of znut was committed. Aval ha, but in this case, all right, ho'il
No,
va'as.
Mr. Bahai is that he up until that seclusion, she could have married the other man. It's the fact that she's secluded with him that creates an isur on him.
Yeah, right.
That's how you have to translate it, because then you have
Heiche
to,
deka mitzra. Once she secluded herself,
it comes for
Bahazinut,
the-
then
the
that's considered an act of unfaithfulness, and therefore she would be
Right.
asur on her husband.
No,
the
Asur
boy-
on
the
the
other guy.
boyfriend.
On the both, on both.
No,
Just said
Echad
The
lebal
normal
ve'echad
rule-
lebo'el. One for each.
right. And it's
Aval ha, but in this case,
of the
okay,
the
of the saris.
no, we're talking now about the
Of the
forbidden
arayot, the other
that's
arayot.
correct,
Okay, aval baha in this case.
of the
Right.
arayos people.
Ho'il va'asura v'kaima emelo. Here
We're
I,
always
okay, since here there's an existent
correct.
prohibition,
You got
okay?
it.
All right, since here there's an existent prohibition, right? And I hear,
So therefore the
in-
pasuk
right?
doesn't apply.
So therefore, emelo, I would say I don't use that double wording, all right? Kamash malan comes to tell us, that's what it comes to teach us. Okay, chutz min hakatan, we excluded the example, okay, of a minor. But again, I want to point out an art scroll correctly indicates there's a difference if somebody is 9 years old, because that is considered valid bia halachically. Okay, so what happens here? Okay, v'chule. Ish. Why? Because the pasuk usually says ish, a man. Amar Rachman. V'lo katan, and not a minor. V'she'ino ish. Okay, and the fact that, right, he's not a man. Lema'ute mai, it comes to exclude what? Ilema lema'uti shachuf. If we're going to say that it include that to exclude somebody who's impotent, that was Art Scroll's translation. Corin's translation was a little bit more detailed, but it meant the same thing.
There's a machlokes actually between the Rambam and the others.
Right,
Rambam says he cannot get an erection at all,
right.
and others say he can, but it withers right away.
Yes, that's the note that Koren gives, by the way. Okay. So what happens? V'hamar Shmuel. But didn't Shmuel say shachuf mekanin al yado? That even when a man is, I'll use Art Scroll's translation for the moment, impotent, when nevertheless a warning is
Can be
viable.
given.
Uposel betruma, and not only that, okay, but it renders her ineligible to eat truma.
Meaning she can't marry a
Right.
Kohen.
Well, that's more than just that. Okay. In other words, even if he divorces her and she's the daughter of a Kohen, she still can't eat
go home.
truma either.
Right.
Okay, that's the point.
We can't go home. with it.
Okay, mekanin al yado, that we warn. Okay, in that situation, pshita. Okay, isn't that obvious again? Mahu detema. What are we trying to teach here? It says v'shachav ish ota shichvat zera. Okay, amar rachmana. Okay, again, the implication of producing seed. Okay, vaha lav bar hachihu. but he is not able to do so. The shachuf is not able to do so. Kamash malan
He's still out.
still comes to teach us that even in that situation, posel betruma. And what about the fact that our Braita says that also it negates her from able to eat truma? Okay, pshita, that's obvious. Mahu de tema. Why do you have to tell us that? Why? Because we have a pasuk that says lo yichalel zaro. Okay, that pasuk would imply that his progeny are the ones that would become chalalim, but it doesn't apply to him personally. Amar Rachmana, that's what the Torah says. The eat le zera the chalel, that were he to have, or one who
It
has,
could be.
okay,
Jewish.
progeny, okay, they would be the ones who would become chalalim, okay. Delete le zera lo lechalel, and if there is no progeny, they do not become chalalim. Kamash malan, that's what it comes to teach us. Ve'ela, but rather, let's look at the following. Lema'ute oved kochavim. Maybe it comes to exclude the example of the woman having a paramour who is not Jewish. V'ha'amar Rav Hamnuna. But didn't Rav Hamnuna teach as follows? Oved kochavim mikanin al yado. That in regards even to a Gentile, okay? The husband could warn the wife not to seclude herself with, okay, Mr. Whatever, all right? Uposel betruma, and she would then become ineligible for truma. Mikanin al yado pshita. The fact that he can warn her, okay, is obvious. Mahu de tema. Why? Because again, telling us there's a pasuk, twice. Nitma'a, again, saying it twice. Shtei pa'amim, the two times. It would apply to echad leba'al ve'echad lebo'el, one to her husband, one to the paramour. Heicha, the kamitzara, baha znut. Again, here, okay, it becomes forbidden through this act of unfaithfulness.
That's what the pasuk.
Okay, aval ha, but again, in our particular case, okay, all right, of the Gentiles, okay, right? Ho'el va'asura v'kaima, since there's already an existing prohibition, okay, emelo, I might say no, kamash malan, comes to teach us that it still applies. Uposea betruma, and the fact that we say it negates her from having truma, pshita. Again, that's obvious. Mahu detema. What are you coming to tell us? Namely, a pasuk, ubat kohen ki tieh ish zar. We understand the pasuk here that initially, okay, and again, I think it's our scroll that has a very good note on this, that the pasuk generally might be translated as the daughter of a Kohen who becomes involved with a non-Kohen person, okay? But that's not how we're going to darshan, in a sense, the pasuk. Here we're going to darshan ish zar as a non-Jew. That's how we're going to darshan it. Amar Rachmana, okay? Davar havya in. Okay, we're talking about something that's existing, implying the capacity to marry. Capacity to marry. That's what they're saying. Yes, the love bar havya hulo, but when it's not the capacity to marry, no. Kamash malan. That's what it comes to teach us. Okay, now the pasil mid the Rabbi Yochanan, as was stated. Nullified with Rabbi Yochanan. The Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Mishum Rabbi Yishmael, who said in the name of Rabbi Yishmael, Minayin le'oved kochavim, ve'eved shaba'u al hakohenet, ve'al halaviyah, ve'al bat Yisrael. How do we know that when it comes to a Gentile or a servant, who has relations with a Jewish woman, okay, who could be a daughter of a Kohen, okay, or a Leviah, okay, or general Israelite woman, shepasluha, in that case, Shne'amar, why? Because we have the pasuk, Bat Kohen ki tiyeh almana ugrusha. So we're going to say, darshan it a little differently, this pasuk. A daughter of a Kohen, when she may ultimately become a widow or a divorcee. What does that mean? It has to mean mi sheyesh lo almanut ugvegerushin ba, one who is enabled to put her into the status of either a widow or a divorcee. In other words, must be eligible and capable of marrying her. Okay? Because that's the only way he could make her either a widow or a divorcee. Okay? Yatzu oved kochavim ve'eved. We therefore exclude the Gentile, okay, or the servant or slave, she'ein lo almanut v'gerushin ba, because he does not have a status which would enable that woman to become either a widow or a divorcee. Okay, so we go on. Ve'ela, but rather, lama'ute, to exclude, to exclude what? Amar Rav Papa, lama'ute behema. Okay, we get into.
This is pretty snusy material.
Yeah, okay, this is, I will be honest, as I was preparing this, I was thinking to myself, I'm glad we don't have any women in this shir this morning.
We said exactly the same thing yesterday.
Okay,
All
all
right.
right,
And
All right.
it just, the whole next rest of it is really,
it's difficult unless you are well aware of certain things. Okay, and I will make a slight reference to it. Okay, lama'ute behema, to exclude an animal. Okay, in other words, what we would normally call bestiality.
because
Okay.
that's not called snus.
Okay, the ein znus bebehema, because we don't consider that kind of an act.
We
Okay,
don't label it with the word
we
snus.
don't consider it legally an act of unfaithfulness as comparable to human copulation. Okay, all right.
So no, it's not snus, it's toeva.
What?
It's not snus, it's toeva.
That's true.
I mean, that's the label.
Okay, I'll accept that.
Is toeva. The label is not snus.
Right. The legal definition, okay, is not snus. All right. Amarle Rava mi parzikaya, the Rav Ashi. And he says to Rav Ashi, Mina hamilta the Amur Rabbanan. On what basis is this said by the rabbis? Ein znud b'behema, that we do not legally define znut, okay, when an asexual act is done with an animal. Dichti, right? Lo tavi et nan zona umechir kelev v'gomer, because we have a pasuk that says that one does not pay a prostitute,
One can't use
okay,
that.
and use the sale of an animal or a dog, whatever, etc., etc. Okay. Now we're going to get to the element here in just a second. Vitanya, and we have a braita that says et non kelet. And regarding the, I want to know if I want to say price of a dog or the value of a dog.
The art scroll explains it that
Yeah, mechir would be
you
price. value.
hire a woman.
Yeah, we'll get to it in a second. Okay, hold on. Okay, what happens? All right, so Edna, umechir zona mutarin, whereas the price of paying a prostitute, okay, is permitted. Okay, now why is that? What's the issue? Shne'amar, as we said, gam shnehem, both of them, shnayim velo arba, 2 and not 4. Okay, what's the implication here? Okay, is a couple things. Number one, that they would pay a prostitute using a animal, okay, as a,
That's
for
one
payment.
lesson.
That's one possibility, I said. The other is that they pay the prostitute to have relations with an animal, and that was not an uncommon practice in certain kinds
Well,
of
they didn't
avoda
They didn't
zara,
have the internet.
okay?
In France.
Avoda, a certain aspect of avoda zara, okay? Okay, if you read certain Yecheskel Kaufman in his book, 4 volumes, okay, dealing with biblical Israel, okay, points out the fact that that why do we particularly see such a stringent, so many examples of prohibitions regarding avodah zarah? He argues that there were certain practices associated with various Canaanite, okay, idol worship practices, okay, that we won't go into now, but that clearly were common practices, because part of the Canaanite idol concept was that the farmer would pay and go to the temple prostitute, okay, or other things, as we're just
To
saying,
ensure good crop.
to ensure good crops. Okay, that was a basic foundation of part of some of Canaanite idol worship. Okay, so
I mean, you can see the analogy.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
Sarah and Zerah.
Okay, all I'm simply saying is we need to understand what is that the Chazal was aware of this situation, and that's why they may have defined bestiality different from human relations. Okay, so now that I've gone into that more than I really need to, okay, let's go on. Right? Ve'ela shichvat zera lamali. So why do we refer to it then? Okay. We need it because of a braita that teaches as follows: Shichvat zera prat ledavar acher. Okay, with the exception of another thing, something else, which we're going to
Zerah,
spell
she
out.
drinks with something else she does.
Okay, my davar acher. What do we mean by davar acher? Amar Rav Sheshet, says Rav Sheshet, prat l'shekina la shalo kedarka, except for the case where he warns her not to have relations that are not normal sexual positions. Okay, anal intercourse is what he's referring to. Okay, Amar le Rava, says Rava, shalo kedarka. Okay, mishkave isha kativ. But you're saying that that's prohibited. But when the Torah refers to mishkave isha, it might include any form of relations. Ela amar Rava, says Rava, prat the shekinah la derech evarim. Okay, with the exception that he may warn her vis-a-vis, and the art scroll wants to translate derech evarim, bodily contact.
In the medical term, it's called frottage.
Frottage?
Yes,
Okay.
where a man stimulates himself to orgasm by rubbing on other than genitals.
Bodily
Okay.
contact.
All right.
I don't know.
Okay.
Limb to limb, limbs.
All right. Limbs, right? Okay. All right. We'll go back afterwards. Amarle Abai, Pritsuta Ba'almahi. But that's general lewdness. Okay. Upritsuta miyamar Rahmana. And would the Torah have allowed such lewdness? Ela Amar Abai.
No, would the Torah make her drink?
In other words, would it require her, would it equate, actually, would it equate the status of sota for simply general lewdness? That's the point. Okay, I'm sorry, okay, upritsuta mias. Would the Torah then prohibit, okay, that lewdness on a parallel to?
And make her drink and die.
Etc. Ela Amar Abai, says Rabbi, prat l'shekina la v'nishika. Okay, and we're going to translate here with the exception of he warns her in regards to genital contact.
Correct.
Okay, that's what we're
Without
going to.
intromission.
Okay, that's what we're going to determine use right now of that phrase, even though again, both Art Scroll and Koran have extensive notes on it. Hani chalamanda amar her'a, right? Her'a, okay? Zo hachnasat atara. That's understandable if we understand that the phrase nishika here as, I'm going to translate it, the introduction of the male member into the female genitalia area. Okay? Aval nishika velo klum, but when it's
According to the view that
right, the view that it's not that particular act. Hainu da'ate kra lema'uti nishika. Okay, here then we have a verse that would eliminate, okay, or limit nishika. Ele leman da'amar ha'ara zo nishika. But then, according to the one who says that that entrance is genital contact,
and that the word nishika is used for
yes,
the
for that
word intromission.
Okay, well, okay, all right. My ikalamema, what are you going to say? Le'olam, okay, l'shikonet la derech evarim. No, what we're coming back to the fact that we're saying he warned her about bodily contact. Umahi maho detema. So what is it coming to tell us? The kapeda de Baal Talia Rahman, that is it telling us that the Torah allowed it to be based on the objection of the husband, Ubaal hakakaped, and in this case, the husband does object. Kamash Malan comes to teach us that that's the case.
We should stop.
And we're going to stop right there and pick up with Shmuel tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And guys, try to bring both Gemaras.
So, I'm a couple of women who rescued to have sexual intercourse with the dog.
Thank you, Rabbi Green.
I had to get you a picture.
Of her picture, but not me.
At the dog.
I didn't.
It's amazing how frank they were.
You know, I once explained to people that human society does not totally, human behavior, technology changes,
But
but
people
human behavior
That's-
doesn't
But you
always.
learn, but you know, like, but I have learned something in 9th grade. And it's just, my wife said, but you make me that.
Ninth grade,
I'm 14.
yes, I understand that. And it may very well be that that's not necessarily a bad time.
No, I'm not, I'm
to
just
teach it.
saying it in that, first of all, they were much more frank. They had rules, but they were much more frank about sexual behavior
Right.
than we are.
Right. No, but I'm saying that at that point, when the youngster that is beginning to think and feel sexual connection. Yeah.
But I translated as fraud.
No, not just that. Not just
No, but I'm
that.
telling you how he translated.
I understand. I'm one, but the reason I think about the reason that there's an argument in the first is what Nishika is.
No, I'm not talking about this.
I understand that, but that's
Yeah, because you're forcing someone to die. So it has to, you have to have clear definition.
Right. No,
of
but
what
I'm
you
saying-
have to do.
I'm not saying, I'm wondering if in essence, part of it was that moving
I don't know if they knew it. And because in the Ram, he tells you what you're allowed to do with your life.
right.
I don't know if they were aware of it.
Well, they were certainly aware of issues of animals.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. As I said, that was not, it was not, that,
Because you say, we didn't learn We're allowed to.
That's the penalty. Okay. Another question of almost equal importance.
You're allowed.
More important factors in my life.
yeah, no, I'm going to go right now and check what's there and get back to it.
West Wing, but you must know where you can set up.
What's Tuesday in October?
Okay, you hear this? Mel used to milk cows.
Seen that from the store.
On the shore.
There is no program.
Right. It's described as the best way to be in the shore.
When did you
That's
milk
the
cows?
governor. Well,
I think that's what we set up a table, but maybe she shouldn't.
Okay.
maybe she wants to set it out in the wider area.
Yeah. I think you can anyhow. Not putting, you're not gonna put any food on it, just put the table on the table for it.
What's worth selling the money?
I want to set the table
Please, I'm
Tuesday
not
around 4
home.
o'clock.
Oh.
But it's gonna be there.
Okay, so she has to make sure the juice knows that,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
I will tell her.
Okay, also please make sure their
Aren't you
Wednesday
going home with
program.
me?
Yeah, see.
Okay, the Wednesday program,
Remember
that
we're
would
on
be
the other
in
In
the
the
side.
West
other
Wing,
room.
the West Wing.
Yeah.
I need to set up in the back.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what you mean by that. She said up
Because
there.
sisterhood, when we have, okay, Rosh Chodesh, okay,
Right.
they have tables there, okay, along that area. Okay, or when they've had a big show kiddush.
Right. They have it in the narrow area
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
She wants to do it over there.
So
that's
when,
it, so-
I would say Wednesday, she should do it in the narrow area. You know, that's closer to the entrance to the auditorium. Right, oh, okay. Okay, so the question is, normally, if it's an event here, they set up over here. Right. As opposed to down over there. Right. Okay, so I'm wondering if she should still set up over here.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
think she was thinking of setting up over there, because there's more space. People here get so
right,
crowded.
but they're gonna be, ideally, the people who are gonna come, they're gonna be coming out of here. Now, my concern is, okay, we do have some tables, I'm gonna have to ask this to set up more tables. I don't think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tables is enough, that's 50 people. Hey,
So people be picking up food and putting down.
yeah. I mean, we're gonna put the drinks on the table in advance and napkins and stuff like that. I'm gonna look at these right now, see what we've got. So I'm still thinking that's probably better for her to set up, you know, everything.
Yeah, and people come in and sit.
Yeah.
Okay, so she said it.
Me too, Jen. Thank you.
Good day. Have a wonderful day.
I should say here to the flag.
Oh. Okay. I'm gonna take a look at this stuff and then I'm gonna pause it. Yeah. Mhm.
I want you as my ophthalmologist.
I'm not,
Thursday night is the big night for me.
I'm not a eye, ear, nose, or throat person. No, do you really need to see an eye doctor?
No, not at the moment, but my previous ophthalmologist was recommending things for me that I found were not necessary.
Yeah.
Taking drops. Very,
Here? But if you feel, then recommend.
I'm switching. There's one guy who wanted me to put earplugs, eye plugs in every time you saw me.
iPhone?
Yeah, he felt that was it was good for the eye. It gave more.
Lubricant? Is it an issue?
I didn't need it. That was the point.
Is there an issue of lubrication? In
No, there is not.
Like
but
tear ducts are closed or not?
None of those.
That's not an issue.
No,
Okay.
but he liked giving it to me because it was.
But you could charge it.
Yes. So I'm just going to change up the model.
Right. Good, good.
He fails to tell you that I went to entertain him on Friday night. I entertained and he was good. He forgot to eat his food. He was so good.
He
My
forgot to
jokes were so bad, he forgot to eat his meal.
hey, you forgot that Friday night dinner?
Oh, no, no, no. While he was eating, I came to entertain.
Oh,
So
I
that
see.
affected how much he ate.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
Thursday night when
Yes, yeah.
let me know what.
Yeah, I will
you want
let you know.
advance
I will do the same thing. I will mark the calendar
Okay,
so that you'll know.
okay, I actually have my own Mishayos, but my Chavrusa has been staying with me for the last 3 weeks or so, so he brought his for him. So sometimes I can't find mine because of the intermingling
Yeah.
of his and
So
mine.
you still want me to loan you that Kahati?
No, I don't
No?
think I need it,
Okay.
unless I think I know where my Kahati is, so.
Okay.
But I
you-
just need to know which Mishayos.
Yeah, okay.
You
No
let me know?
problem. Yeah,
That's Thursday night, right?
correct.
My ophthalmologist must be good, because I'm remembering it. Have a wonderful day.
Okay. Good morning, good morning. Andy, you got a minute? Oh, okay, well, you've already answered my first question. Okay. I've got a, yeah. Okay, that's number one. I would assume all. Right, I think they use that line, and I really thought that's my second, but I think the cost is more, decided down to. Okay, that's number one. Number two, we need to, set up a Cheryl and you. She wants to set up Tuesday night. And that's where he needs to put the table.
I'm sure that's fine. We should have started.
Okay, we've got 5 tables in. I think we should have more than 5 tables. I'm thinking just in case.
I'm sure it's.
Okay. All right, so I will speak to her this morning. She's getting the food. Just a question I would have, if the question is, if we're going to have, will we give people a chance to sit down to them? thinking to set it up instead of a straw, because there's more room, but she's thinking people are standing. Okay, I was thinking again, people that are more comfortable too.
People be more comfortable, especially if they're talking, right?
Yeah, we have to have.
And if they're drinking coffee and they have more than one dessert.
That's what I. Okay. All right, thank you. Good morning, hi, how are you? Are we all getting ready for that special day? Oh, look at that. Just who I was gonna call. Look at
Can
that.
I come in?
Yeah. come on, sure. So I was just talking with Andrea. We've already got 40 people.
Oh, yes?
Yeah, we've already got 40. And because we're gonna offer coffee and things like that, I think it's gonna be easier if people do already.
Robin?
Yeah, Robin is got a,
Really liked on Robin.
that's just
How
like
about
that.
here? Let me get these ones.
Oh, Sheila, yes, we were actually.
So nice. Oh, so how is this? I'm doing something this way.
Oh, yeah.
And I can't even ask your mother for help, you
Oh.
know? She's out. Okay, so what I do.
Yeah.
My largest list, my setup,
Ah,
my buffet.
okay, you mean against this wall. Uh-huh. So we'd have to move basically this table.
Huh?
We'd have to move this table.
No, you have to move this and this, you have to move this down.
Yeah.
Move these tables. I hate these tables. You don't have smaller tables in the shul. See, for something like this, you want a smaller table. They used to have smaller tables. Anyway, this would have to be moved down. Your buffet right here.
Uh-huh.
Unfortunately, they've been telling me they want the coffee outside.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we could set up just the coffee, tea, things like that on a table outside, and you could still have tables here.
I want the buffet, the dessert table as the showpiece, something very pretty to look at. That's what I'm
No, I
trying to
understand
get,
what you're saying.
something pretty. So this space here becomes a showpiece. You have plenty of space for people to walk all around to get their food. And just at the table over here. It could be a hundred people. I mean, right now you have 40 people, so it's only 4 tables. So let's say we put out 5 tables. Even if we have to do 6.
There's
we
enough
could-
room. There'll be enough room.
Yeah.
We've done one to learn in here. Of course, that food is a little different situation, but we've had tables as far as up to here. So that would not be enough room for this way. But even if we move some of the tables further up, we can still speak from over here. No.
You're walking faster. Can this open anymore? That's it. This is as big as it can open.
That's,
How much did you spend on it?
they're arranging. Listen, you gotta be glad that they're glad that they got the wall up clean. Okay,
You know, because.
Are people gonna be sitting in here at all, or it's?
now I think given that if we've got 56,
Yeah. You know, it's a lot of work to do, smoothing and everything. But I would say so that you could even have 2 tables right here. If needed. I would take 3 rows out.
I don't think we're gonna need that. No, I really don't.
Well, I don't know how many tables you could set here. I need to talk to you. Yeah, but that whole back section, where you go back in there, those chairs have to go. I would never have them again. Sitting there.
No, those chairs, they are.
And I have my table here. And these can swap here. I'll have to talk to Juice about that. So here, so then it would be 1, 2, 3. And the people will have to go outside, but this is stupid. You know, we go to room, you have to, because you have to think you can't really handle it. So what you can do is you can do the last chair, the last chair.
I think it was. What,
24 to 36 hours, and that's 10, 15
Yes,
people
yes,
show
oh,
up.
certainly,
see,
certainly.
part of it is the fact that I'm sure that people will come and pay at the door.
Yeah, so now I have to run that through, I was thinking of 50, when you told me 11, I said, well, people haven't been in there, I'm gonna give 50, because a lot of people are leaving this week.
Right.
So I said,
So I-
50.
that's
So
why
I
I
think
spoke-
we're gonna be
I
up
spoke
60
to
or
Andrea.
70. I need to
She
go
says
one more.
50 to 60.
Yeah.
She figures, because again, like you say, some people are leaving,
Right.
and some people may come the last minute.
So I'm gonna plan like the 60, even possibly a little bit over the 60.
You can tell them not the kind of thing you should say, you cut her off, you can't sign up.
No,
Well,
no,
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 we're not
she's
doing
not
that.
cutting
We're
it.
not,
And she'll have-
that's why we did not put that on the.
Hello,
oh, good morning.
I'm looking for Phyllis. Huh? Is there supposed to be a sisterhood meeting today?
Which
The sisterhood for the synagogue.
Which congregation? There are 2 congregations here. Where's that Shalom? Right next door. If you walk out this door.
That's where it
and
probably
right
is.
around the corner,
Okay, so I can walk in.
Yeah.
Yes, if you don't know about a sisterhood meeting, then it's not you. I was wondering, I didn't
If
see
you go
75
on to the
cards.
right,
Right.
Just go, it's right here.
Just
and
right
keep going,
around the
you'll
corner.
see another
you'll see it.
synagogue
So I can
building.
just walk in.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I also put that I have to pay for. I don't need to. If I have to in the end, I will, but I have paid for that. So I'm thinking something very nice. I'm thinking a 75 balloons hanging up there. Blue and white. I have a big blue tablecloth and then white tablecloth on the end and then more.
Okay.
And I have some power and I have some dairy. So I'll have to have a sign. I kind of have to keep the
Right.
dairy so I can run and power.
Uh-huh.
So I think it could work. And if you took 1 or 2 rows out of here, just in case, if you could put 70, if I had another table there, would be helpful.
I-
So
I'm-
all these things, you know, tools up there,
Yeah.
have nothing to do.
No, but we're gonna put you to work in the
Can I give
future.
you 1 second? Can you give me, I know you're in the middle of her own thing. Okay, so,
Sure.
so it's 10-1 here if you're on David. I was thinking of that. But, I'm gonna put mine- See, she taught me very well. She's
Uh-huh.
like that. They don't want, right, people bunched up and then. So we're gonna have to stay here. And then I think if I start one table here, I should do it. Yeah. Starting one table here and we'll have
50, 60 people.
60. I'm gonna count to 60, because right now we're at 40. A lot of people. That's, I need to 12 packs. Okay, are they 12? Should I
Yeah,
use
these are
12?
12s,
Okay.
but usually we don't have, usually people don't sit at 12.
Yeah, I
Usually
don't
they'll
like
sit
12. I'm thinking the 10 is the table. 10, that's the 10. I'm sorry, Paul.
No. Okay, it is right. Oh, I Sheila. Beautiful Sheila. It must be an exciting one.
Yeah.
Miracle time.
Okay, sorry.
No.
Okay, all right, so I have to.
Okay, I did, so she, I think, well, you said, you told me you bought the cupcakes and you bought half a sheet.
Yes, so that, I bought 24.
But that you
cupcakes.
purchased
Okay,
already.
but that, well, no, I'm picking it up on Tuesday, so I didn't pay for it yet.
Okay,
Then I went yesterday to, DJ's, and I bought a big thing of chocolate chip, that type cookies, big tray, I leave it like that, and then a big tray with like, muffins and whatever, another big tray, and then small things of little chocolate, little nice, and little cupcakes.
yeah.
So, and I hope that
Did
the,
you try to get any fruit? I mean,
I'm not a fruit person, and fruit starts to cost a lot, but if you
Yeah.
like, we
I
could
know.
order a fruit platter. I would only do one,
yeah,
and I could order the fruit platter at the boys
Yeah.
and see if someone could pick it up. Okay? So we'll have one fruit platter. And we have nuts, because nuts is Israeli. So we're getting nuts and we're putting it in small little
Uh-huh.
things, and it'll be a nice display with the
okay,
nuts.
I'm sure it'll be lovely.
All right, and hopefully, the guy from the bagel store is getting me some baklava. Unfortunately, I went to BJ's when they did Ted's bar mitzvah, they had baklava there,
Yeah,
and I didn't buy it for the bar mitzvah, so I went running back now. This would be great. Gone, totally gone, no baklava.
They probably
So
got it.
the bagel store said, they'll charge me a little bit more than what I would have paid there, but so I hope I'll get a little bit of that.
All right, if
So
you
it should
have
be
it,
nice.
fine.
but I didn't realize how deep that,
That room
that
goes
back,
back.
so that's a perfect place there. So it'll look very pretty, you know, so you come in, it looks nice. To put it here, you don't see it in a small space like this. You don't see the pretty buffet. It's just over here, you see it. You don't see it in this. little walkway.
That's,
Yeah, but I think we'll have it. If he'll take out 2 or 3 rows there, I could put a table or 2 there in case there's an overflow, in case. But mainly, I think 6 tables we could do here.
Yeah.
And, that's 60
it's
people.
always, like you say, because it's a limbo time between some people going,
Right.
okay? And because we did not put a deadline, so people may say, oh, I had somebody yesterday, a member of the show, who
We'll have a
comes-
check.
who
Huh.
comes regularly,
Wait a minute,
And he says-
42.
and he's originally Israeli, and he asked me, is the show doing anything for Yom Ha'atzmaut? I said, look in your board.
Only bring me a check. I had to bring it in today. She gave it to me yesterday afternoon, and we didn't give a check. And Hope didn't give a check, and Hope has other people. So we're gonna be up to 70 people. So I would take 2 tables at that back of the women's section.
Okay, let's see if use is around. Then we can talk to him. Otherwise, I may want to draw a diagram, right? And, yeah, that's always nice. When it comes
I'm glad that I had because I had
to- And is you
Angie and they say hi, but I have an account. So if you could do it off my account, Carolyn Hicks or. This is Dawn. This is Dawn.
okay, fine.
Hi, Judy. Good.
so you let me know. All right? Okay. I looked at, we've got plenty of water. We've got plenty of water,
We have water there.
so that's plenty. I've got some sodas. We'll put a couple of sodas out of the table. Water. I've got some people coming in that they're gonna help me do that.
Good.
Okay.
Let's do that.
Tova Zimmer called. She is, I don't know if she called you.
Yes.
I told her to call you. She said she was going. Okay, very good.
Okay.
All right.
I'll call Bruce,
Okay, great.
where should we go?
Okay, Sharon's gonna go over with him the setup for Wednesday afternoon. Okay,
With 40 people, we're at 44 right now. What? 60, I'm even thinking possibly 70. Yes.
okay, okay. Thank you,
They said that
Sharon.
I may need to purchase a new one.